The charity Board Gamer is made possible by publishers like 25th Century Games. Take a look at the store in the link down below, and stay tuned for a little clip after the show. Hey folks, welcome to the Meeples of Joy podcast. It's a thing where we talk about games, we share stories, and we interview guests and, of course, people in the community and industry. I, of course, am Chris Goodlett. I am from the charity Board Gamer, and we have, of course, the encourager of my chaos, Chelsea.
Hey, that's Chelsea. You can find me at Checo's Corner on Instagram. And I, like to entice things and get Chris in trouble sometimes. But and then there is, the person who puts up with our shenanigans and tries to keep us in check.
Yeah, the key word there is try. I am Justin of Play Games Spread Joy, and all I can do is sit back here and watch as y'all go off on random tangents, and I try to slip in a word, hey, let's try to refocus. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about squirrels right now? Because I love squirrels.
No, but what we can talk about is the amazing guests we have with us today.
They are amazing. They do not have a squirrel girl on their team. However, they do have a professor who does crazy amounts of cosplay, especially the Mary Jane Spider-Man cosplay, which is really cool. But this group of people just came together. Basically they've gotten to know each other through Instagram and different social media platforms to build a community, and they're continuing to build a community. And they are basically superheroes because they are the Boardvengers. We have tonight for our part one in the series, we have Nelson from Fantasy and Some Flights, Ben and M from Date Night Dice, and of course, Roberto, who has been on our podcast before when we talked about Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is an amazing charity that we had a great conversation about, and even took some, got a chance to look at some pictures of some kids who were blessed by the beds that were being made, including some being made by the wonderful Roberto as well from Sheer Boredom. Folks, thank you for being on today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Anytime. So we're going to ask some questions, of course, about the Boardvengers. We're going to ask actually about your different channels. So why don't you go ahead? I know I introduced you all. Let's start with Nelson, then we'll work to Date Night Dice, and then we'll work to Roberto. Tell us a little bit about about where you're from, and about your channel, so that way anybody that's listening may hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on. So I'm Nelson. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Fantasy and Some Flights podcast. We mainly talk about beer, board games, books, and bourbon. And so put out podcasts every 2 weeks. And we're also pretty active on Instagram doing some board game reviews and just some fun stuff there. So yeah, come talk. We love talking with you.
All right. Ben and M.
Well, we are Ben and M from Date Night Dice, which started off as a YouTube channel that quickly turned into an Instagram account that sort of follows us playing games. At some point, I convinced Emily we should do a podcast, and now that's my favorite part of our account. Emily has a photography background, and I just like to talk. So it's a perfect mix. We can have this Instagram where we take pictures and goof around, and then every couple of weeks we get together with our buddy Ken and record a podcast and talk about whatever, games, movies, video games, whatever we've been up to.
And just so anybody doesn't know, with that Date Night Dice kind of line of things, they also have really nice little gifts that I would recommend looking into for a perfect date night. Of course, we know Valentine's Day is coming up this weekend. I don't know how quick shipping can be, but I bet if you pay enough,
it could be pretty quick.
But yeah, some great suggestions for games, as well as some fun things to do, maybe some very fun things to do. Who knows? So yeah, and of course, Ben is like a lifting beast. If you've seen his own personal channel, this guy can press, and he can squat, and he can do it all. And of course, just wonderful couple. So yeah, all right, and let's go on to Roberto.
How do I follow that? Oh my gosh! I'm just gonna sit back. I'm just gonna sit back and watch what's happening with this whole thing. I'm Roberto. I'm Sheer Boredom. I'm horrible for SEO is what I like to say, because it's a play on words, and you can't find me on Google. So I'm a hairstylist and board game enthusiast. On Instagram, I do thoughts, little reviews, all sorts of stuff like that. On TikTok, as of late, I've been doing like bringing board games into the salon and pretending that they're clients and just doing stuff like that. And then I have my board game adjacent, who's not on with me tonight, but Kate, she's my fiance. So I do reviews with her. And then I also do interviews because as a hairstylist, I like that one-on-one time I have with people. And I brought that over to the board game space and I interview anyone in the board game space. And it's been a good time.
Yeah. And you can find those, of course, on YouTube. There's a lot of great ones where Roberto will come on and he will bring different designers, publishers, and they'll just talk about the different content. And it's an enjoyable to just kind of watch it and relax. And you're kind of in your normal position that you're in when you're doing those interviews. So I feel like this is a little different for us. So yeah. Okay. All right. So here we're going to go over some questions. I'm of course going to talk a little bit about all you beautiful people. I've already kind of introduced you all, but I want to ask some questions, and of course Chelsea's going to, and Justin is as well. But the Boardvengers, what got this all started? Take it away.
I guess I can take point on that one.
It's all you, Roberto.
I was like, you need to talk because
yeah. When I first started Sheer Boredom and started interviewing some people, I reached out to Nelson and Ben and M and Professor Meg, McKay, just everyone that I brought onto into the Boardventures. I had a conversation with them. But at the end of 2020, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get a group of people together, but having different backgrounds in the board game type of industry? Because I like to interview Nelson. Nelson has the podcast. Ben and them, they do 2-player games because they're a couple and they play mostly 2 players. Jason of seriously of D20 and Game Foundry. So Game Foundry does Dave. He has an Etsy shop where he does board game like upgrades. Jason's a solo player, so on and so forth. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get all these different perspectives in and just bring us together? Because I think I was a common denominator between all of us, and get us together to have a chat about our game of the year for 2020. And they all said yes. I have no idea why they said yes, but they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Why not? Let's do it. So I don't even remember how the Boardvengers name came about. I'm a big Marvel fan.
I think it was just like we were all joking around and then it just stuck.
Like,
I'm
hey,
not sure,
we're the
though.
Boardvengers.
Yeah.
It's such an epic name. And early on, when we would do something, I'd get texts from all sorts of people. How do I be a Boardvenger? Can I be a Boardvenger? Let me be a part of the group. So eventually we'll start to do, more cameos and bring more people in. So then we did a couple of more videos together. And then McKay, the board game critic, he reached out to me and said, hey, we should make something of this. Let's do this. Let's get a plan going. And we brought it out to the group and here we are.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of expanded now. Like we have weekly videos, and so instead of quarterly videos, we have weekly videos where each one of the seven channels host probably a discussion, or they're all pretty unique. So that's what I kind of like about it, is every Tuesday you don't really know what you're going to get, but it's always going to be hosted from one of the channels. So like I am hosting the one that's coming out on the 15th, so here in a couple of days. So it's just kind of fun. They're all generated topics by that channel, and so they're all personalized and fun. They're just fun.
Yeah, we were talking to McKay yesterday, and I was like, what is interesting about the group is how different everybody's taste in board games is.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of fun to get together and talk about stuff, because like when we do a game of the year or your favorite whatever thematic game or this or that, it's almost everybody picks a different game almost always. And
Yeah, I don't think we had any that.
Well, the weird thing was when we did game of the year, right, there was a lot of Arnak nominations, right? So that tells me, wow, across all these different people, that's a great game.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
It's always fun to get together because like I learn about games I don't even play, so that's kind of the cool thing about it.
Yeah. What's been a game
Bad for the wallet, but great to
that
play
is
games.
true.
Oh yeah. That's the only thing, is like you don't even need peer pressure when you have friends and that love the hobby just like you do. It's more like did you see this new game? And I'm like, money. Like, yeah.
Well, now I have another problem though, because I started listening to Nelson's podcast and I've got like a couple of bottles of whiskey. Of course, sponsored by Elijah Craig. So now I've got Elijah Craig. In my
Sponsored, I wish.
That's going to be the running gag until we actually get in trouble for saying it. So
Yeah, they'll be like, please stop saying our name.
That's what you should do. You should just seriously reach out to them and be like, hey, we drink enough of your stuff. Can we just can you just say that we're cool with you?
Yeah.
All? And
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even have to, you don't have to give us anything. You don't have to pay us. Just can we be your friend and pretend that we
Exactly. Yeah.
maybe you can bring them on and everything. And then maybe you could get Aviation Gin in there as well and get Ryan Reynolds to come on and just.
Oh my gosh,
friend of
I've
the
been
show,
working
Ryan
on trying to
Reynolds.
get Ryan Reynolds. It's a running joke on our podcast that he's a friend of our podcast just because we've done so many bad movies with him that now I'm trying to legit get him on the podcast. But
Yeah,
doubt that's gonna
a lot
happen.
of people don't recognize how many things he was in before these great films came out. There's Just Friends, which was kind of one of those weird odd films with him in it. So but yeah. No, and then of course, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, which nobody remembers. I don't understand that. It's that was a good series, but I don't know what happened. So yeah, and then of course, let's not forget Green Lantern.
Oh,
No, let's not.
Oh,
let's forget
Yes.
Green Lantern.
You know what? We watched Green Lantern recently, unfortunately, but
Yeah, for
Here's
the
the thing.
podcast.
Green Lantern is a good movie until the last act, and then it's a really bad
It
movie.
is really bad. It gets really bad.
It ruins it.
Really bad.
It's a fine superhero movie until the last act,
Mhm.
and then it's trash.
Well, I don't ever remember what was it, Parallax ever being this giant smoke cloud thing. They did the same thing with Galactus in that Fantastic Four film, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Another great movie.
Yeah. One of those ones where it's gee, let's try to do another one and with a new cast, and let's make it all these younger adult people with blogs and websites. Oh yeah, that really makes me connect with Reed Richards and oh yeah, Dr. Doom. Let's just Sorry,
There's too many
folks.
people who watched Lost and they wanted to have smoke monsters.
I don't understand.
It is a lot of smoke monsters.
Way too many. So Justin, I'll let you take on some questions.
Don't know where to go from where you're just at, but
I know.
we'll back up a little bit. We were talking about how awesome your name is as a collective group, but I was looking up earlier and looking at your logo or the big picture of all the dice with the different capes and stuff. Do certain dice represent certain people in the group, or is it just an overall arching logo? How did y'all come up with that logo? Who did that for y'all?
That was McKay. So McKay did the graphic design, and each one of those, there's the one with the B in front of it, which is the overarching logo.
Mhm.
And then each one of the other 7 refer to a different channel. So for the Fantasy and Some Flights one, it's a bourbon glass, and the D20 is a rock, a piece of ice. That's what it's to represent. So each one of them kind of has a ties, and we have shirts and stuff for them. So
Yeah, ours is served on a dinner platter because
Yeah.
it's a date,
Yeah.
and there's 2 of them. That kind of thing.
Mine are scissors. Go figure.
Crazy.
Yeah, McKay did all that though. And a lot of times he was like, do you have an idea? And we're like, I don't know, something to do with a date. We weren't any help. And then he's like, does this work? And it was amazing every time. So
Yeah.
we all gave it the thumbs up.
I thought he did a really excellent job in that, because we each have our own channels and they all have their own logos or whatever and branding. And he came up with sort of a design for everybody that is about their channel, but not anything like their logo. So you kind of it's its own thing. It kind of fits into the group dynamic a little bit better than if it was some sort of play on our own,
Yeah, it would be
logos
like
we
a
have on
mess.
our own stuff.
Yep.
I thought he really did a good job with that.
Yeah, definitely. It's our logo. They're clean
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they're nice to look at. And back to what you were saying, Ben, if you see yours or mine or Nelson's or who's ever, they know, okay, this is associated with Boardvengers. This is going to be a Boardvengers episode. So it's instantly recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what's been amazing is just kind of course, if you go to the site, if anybody goes to the site, and we put it back up in the, of course, but if you go to boardvengers.com, you actually will see this really funny video where all of a sudden a meeple just slowly comes closer to Roberto's hand. and he's calling upon the power of his fellow meeple people. And you're just like, all of a sudden they get notifications and they all respond, and it gets pretty wild. Dave looks very confused as he's punching out. I don't even remember what the game was. I think it was Anachrony. I don't even know.
Yeah, it was Anachrony. He was doing the big bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just one of those wild things. But if you haven't gone there, you need to check it out. Plain and simple. Chelsea, what about you?
So you mentioned that you like have a stream on Tuesdays. Do you pick a specific topic beforehand, or do you just kind of wing it? And if you do pick a topic, how do you, because there's plenty of you. How do you like come to a consensus for a topic?
That's the funny part. We don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
We're barely getting by.
Sorry to bring it up. My bad.
Yeah, this is really awkward now. No, we have though, like each person or group, has a date, and they kind of come up with the topic. Then they will throw out if they want any other people to join, or like everybody's welcome, or we specifically want the view from, a solo player, whatever. And then we kind of collaborate from there. But it's kind of like that person's choice, I guess, for the main topic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet that McKay has been the driving force behind this. He set up a nice schedule, so we all have, between the 7 accounts, we all have one Tuesday where we have our videos. So we put out a topic. Some of us will pop on a video, others won't. Where it's all interchangeable. Whoever can make whatever work. And that's how we've been doing it right now.
Seems fun.
Yeah, that's nice to be able to have that. That's kind of what our Justin does for us, is just kind of lined up like seriously, I'm reading through this. I'm like, okay, what am I doing next? Okay.
Like each week I'll be like, okay, who's with us next on the podcast? Okay, here's our topic. And just I'll take care of the script, y'all.
Well, right. So like for us, it's imagine
true.
if you only had to do that every 7 weeks, right? So it's every 7th Tuesday, it's going to be your job to figure it out. But in between, it's like, if somebody says, I want to talk about heavy games, you can be like, I want to talk about heavy games too. I'll be there. And then the hardest thing has been figuring out scheduling, because we're in different time zones and different stages of life. And, that's the toughest thing, is like, how can you get a couple of people together at the same time? But so far, as we go through this first round of the rotation, it's been pretty good picking up topics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you mentioned being in different time zones and everything. I think I saw some pictures of you, at least some of y'all, at one of the recent conventions at the end of the year. Have y'all had a chance to actually all meet in person and do something, or are y'all planning that?
Oh, it's being planned.
It's absolutely being planned. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We're planning the Boardvengers retreat, so it's gonna be a full weekend, month. I don't know how long we're gonna do it.
One whole year.
It's just full of games.
I think we're joining a cult at this
We're going
point.
It's Boardvengers summer camp. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
A lot of us really like disc golf too, and so we're trying to find a spot that has a course nearby so we can all play. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think we're targeting like 2023 is when the location that we have our eye on kind of opens up. It's booked out pretty solid.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Tell you, there's plenty, there's lots of places, but yeah, I understand. Like there's that board game ranch, which is just wild. But I mean, you're also paying an arm and a leg for it too. But yeah.
Not if you get 20 people together. You get enough people together, it's more affordable. Just tossing that out there.
Okay, then you darn well better call me if you do. I'll be poor man's. I'll be Endgame Thor. I've got.
Yes.
So yeah. No, I did that. I dressed up as Thor for was it Marvel Dice Throne when they had that. So
Oh my,
Nice.
yes.
oh yeah, yeah, and of course I had my Xbox controller, and I was talking to Noob Master 69 about not messing with my friend Gorg. So yeah,
Great.
like Justin always says, yeah, I need to get back on topic though.
Well,
So
I think the easiest way to get us back on topic is talking about future plans, but we'll back it up to today's plan of today's top 5. So every week we do a top 5. The 3 of us already know the topic, have come up with our top 5 games. Since there's so many of y'all with us today, we just want you to try to come up with one from the topic. The topic today is games with dice as a core mechanic.
Oh, that's so.
Because-
Come on.
Yeah, well, it's pretty straightforward, but
I can
know
do that.
Exactly what Roberto's going to do, though.
it's pretty
I
straightforward,
know.
pretty easy. But we wanted to do it because of your great logo with all the dice that are in the logo. We wanted to kind of catch it off the theme of who y'all are in some way. So we came up with our top 5 dice-based games, and as long as y'all can come up with one each, I think we should have fun with this today. But before we do that, Chris, you want to talk about the charity of the month and anything else you want to talk about? Give them a chance to think about their top game.
Yeah,
we need
so
time to
our charity for February, if you're interested in contributing towards it, it is the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls at afroscapescurls.com. Their mission, the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls, is an organization whose goal is to connect people from diverse backgrounds and build a community based on a shared love of science fiction, fantasy, gaming, Afrofuturism, while providing a safe space to explore the artistic, literary, and historic merits of geek culture. Their vision: the house was created as a vehicle for people of color to build more inclusive environments to engage around seemingly non-traditional spaces such as gaming, comics, science fiction, media, and technology. We want to ensure that the representation of and consumption by people of color is normalized rather than seen as an anomaly. We strive to increase representation for adults and youth of color, create programs that build community, and create programming that generates a sense of belonging where the community as a whole can discuss pertinent and sensitive issues using science fiction, fantasy, comics, and games as a catalyst for conversation. We are big fans, of course, of Jade Rogers, actually one of the people that runs House of Afros, Capes, and Curls. She does role-playing with us on our Tuesday nights, RPGs and such in the Daubers universe, and we love her to death, and we will be doing another 24-hour charity live stream raising money for the House of Afros, Capes, and Curls. However, if you want to donate and support them right now, go to afroscapescurls.com. That's afroscapescurls.com. Back to you, Justin.
Okay, well, just to make sure, were there any other announcements? I know you mentioned before wanting to kind of bring up the Gateway Network, because that's how a lot of y'all kind of somewhat know each other and have connected.
Yes, thank you for keeping me on track tonight, Justin. So the Gateway Network is an amazing organization started by Ryan James of the Gamecasters, where he decided to take people and say, hey, let's help support each other. So if people know of different networking things, we're actually supporting each other, promoting each other, getting to know each other, coming sometimes on his live stream where he's playing Garctic Phone, which, gosh darn it, it gets a little, we have to put on the mature rating for that one. Yeah. So, but it is one of those fun things where you can actually interact with different people. He reached out to us at the Charity Board Gamer and asked if we'd like to join the Gateway Network. I was like, what is this all about? He told me about it, and it's been a joy to just be able to have these relationships and friendships with people that I may not have been able to have them before. And on occasion, we'll promote each other, we'll support each other. And, if we see some content, give them a shout out. That's kind of what it's about. So that is the Gamecasters. And the Gamecasters, just so you know, they live stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays. So you can check them out on there. And one of my favorite things was when Ryan from the Gamecasters and Ben and Em and Natalie were all doing this painting thing. They were doing a painting challenge for Marvel United, and Ryan's paintings looked horrible. And Ben's looked really good. I'm just saying that right now, just so if Ryan listens to this later,
Yeah, you're gonna grab
that
her.
he gets to hear this as well. But that is the Gateway Network. If you're interested in joining, please reach out to the Gateway Network on Instagram, and they will help hook you up.
My gosh, I broke my paint. I won the painting contest. I have a trophy right here.
You just broke it.
I just
so you
broke
don't
it.
have
Oh
a
my
trophy
gosh.
right there.
Oh no.
No, it just slides in though.
But did you know that Ryan and Ben have a Christmas album?
Oh, that's true
It-
too.
I forgot about
It's so good.
About that.
It's so good.
Can you listen to it? I don't even know.
Good
thing?
is interesting, but it was different. Especially when you hear Ryan singing on the beginning of that one live stream around Christmas time. So, but yeah, no, there's always good humor when it comes to Ryan, and I know that if he's listening right now or if he's listening later, that I'm going to pick on him as much as I can. So,
that.
Well, talking about picking on people, who should we pick to begin with? Because I think we want to start with the guest tonight to go
Yeah.
first.
Let's start just like down the line. Let's go. Let's start with Nelson first. For one.
So,
of his-
do you want all 5 or just one?
No, you just need one because
I need one.
yeah,
Oh,
you just
cool.
need one.
Okay, so I'll just jump. I'm gonna go with Dice Forge.
No.
So
Oh, okay. Don't take mine. Don't take mine.
actually, I would like to revise my pick.
I'm gonna take yours, Roberto.
Yeah, let's
Just to
just take
be.
it.
I think we all know yours. Like everyone.
Yeah. So games with dice Forge, kind of flips that on its head, where instead of like, you're rolling dice to take actions. However, the actions that you get to take it to craft your own dice. And so you're going through popping off sides, adding new sides, powering up your dice. And then therefore throughout the game, whenever you roll, you're rolling better, cooler stuff. And so I don't know if it's technically a, fantastic game, right? But it's very, very fun. And whenever I think of like dice games, this is one that I always want to just be showing to people because it's so unique and so interesting, and you can play it in 30 minutes and you just want to play it again. And it's just one of those that I found pretty late or like recently actually.
Mhm.
And so it's been, just nice to have it in the collection. It's nice to pull it out, and, it's just kind of unique. Plus the art is absolutely incredible.
Definitely.
The game is so affordable too for how much you
Mhm.
get in it,
Mhm.
and and that price point. I thought that's an incredible pick.
Nice. Chelsea, you had a couple of games on your list that actually have dice actually in the name, kind of like that one. Which one do you want to go with to start us off?
I'm gonna go down the list in no particular order because I can't can't make those decisions.
Stress.
Yes, too much stress to like put the but Dice Hospital. I tried it out. I didn't backed all the expansions, and I have little ambulances, and then there's a little helicopter that you put the dice in, and there's like a maternity one, and I just, as somebody who has ADD, this is like the perfect list because I'll play with the dice and stuff, and it keeps me entertained. So I always enjoy when we get to play Dice Hospitals.
Never played it.
Yeah, I still need to try it too. So
Oh,
I guess one of these
we have
games.
everything. Yeah,
Nice.
it's there.
Chris, which of your choices helps with your ADD?
Nothing helps me with my ADD. What are you talking about? However, I will say that one of the games that I'm a big fan of, and of course we talked about a little while ago, Dice Throne. Just really enjoed
Got
that game. Yeah, I got you.
And he said,
What am I gonna say now, Chris?
I know. Dice Throne.
Perfect.
Though, Dice Throne is just so much fun. I will go ahead and defer to the Marvel version, mainly because I, over the course of like a few weeks, got to play as Thor, and then I got destroyed by Manny Tremblay, which was just that was rough. That was so rough. But yeah, a blast. That is Marvel Dice Throne from Dice Throne. Okay.
So one of the ones on my list, it's kind of more the whole series, but to pick from the series, a Betrayal at House on the Hill. Like I like all the Betrayal series games, but of course I have to go back to the kind of the original one. Just the overall theme of the hauntedness and like exploring the house, but then never knowing exactly when that haunt is going to trigger. basically. So you're relying on the luck of the dice. And then, of course, each of the additional games they've released for Betrayal have I've enjoyed all of them, but of course, I have to go with the original. No, let's call on M.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Ooh.
I don't know what she's going to pick. So while you guys were talking, I wrote down a whole bunch of dice games, and I said, pick one.
I also wrote them down.
And then she wrote down one I had already written down.
I can't read your
So,
handwriting.
Well,
That tells you how much she
I've
read
been
my
kind
list.
of watching out of the corner of my eye. Okay, who maybe
Yeah,
wrote
so
one
we're
versus
gonna-
a lot, so give them their one.
Right. So I'm horrible at rolling dice, which
That's true, actually.
you didn't think it was a thing. It's a thing.
It is.
So I was going to say Arcadia Quest
Mhm.
because it's a great game,
Oh, you're
but
cheating, and you're saying
I know I
too.
am cheating it. I'm cheating. But that one is 100% like what you roll is what you do, and it is a make or break situation. And a lot of times for me, it's a break situation. It's horrible. So I'm actually picking the Magnificent. It's still dice.
Dice drafting.
But you draft, but it's, it's your moves. It's how much you have to pay at the end. You like add them together. So it's not as much like how many hits did I cause situation.
You don't have to roll well. You just have to draft well.
There you go. So I'm
mhm.
picking that one. It's a great game.
Nice. So I'm going to jump it back to Chris because he actually has two different ones on there that are basically drafting dice.
Mhm.
Which one do you want to go with?
I'm going to go with Sagrada. Sagrada, because you're building a stained glass window, drafting that dice. Yeah, Roberto. Too bad.
You get to go 2 times before I go. It's your show. It's your show.
You'll do the same with me when I come on yours. All right. So yeah. Now I know. Now I know I'm not getting invited to the retreat. Thanks.
Well, this is the real challenge of the top 5. You only get to say one, but you have to figure out your own.
You gotta make it worth it.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, Sagrada is one of those games that I was invited out, and I got the chance to go to like a little church, and they had like a little game night type thing over there on a Sunday afternoon, and somebody broke out Sagrada. I loved it. My kids then went out and bought it for me for Christmas that same year, and it's just a great game. It came out 2017, but for a 5-year-old game, it's just, I think it's going to stand the test of time, just because of the beauty of it all. And plus Floodgate Games is just stepping it up each and every year with something new. And Sagrada Legacy is the next big thing that's coming from them. So I'm excited about that.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
It
Sagrada.
does look great. So you kind of talked about it being older game, even though 5 years isn't really all that old, but in board game realm, that's ancient
Oh, yeah.
at this point. But I guess one of the older-ish ones on my list was Soro of the Seas from Calliope Games. So not base Soro, but of the Seas, where it adds in the dragons moving around. So you have an extra little layer of not just avoiding the players, but where the dice dictating where those dragons are dropping onto the board and moving is something you can't really predict at all. So it kind of gives an extra layer to that game. And it's great for when you have more people around because it does play up to 8 players. So I've kind of kept that on my shelf for those bigger game nights when you just need something relatively easy to teach and fast to play with a lot of players while you're waiting to figure out maybe splitting up to more games or of smaller groups. Chelsea, what else is on your list right now?
So Taverns of Tippintoe by North Star Games.
Like, what's my-
Oh.
I love that it
We
has
have
like
a list here.
modules that you can add on. So, it could always be a little bit different. Like you can add more than one or all of them or at none. And when we recently played it at game night, and when you're drafting the dice, we always kept passing like a certain number. It was either like 4 or 6, and nobody wanted them. We're like, no, we don't want that. And there would be like 4 in a row of the same ones. So there's a little bit drafting and stuff, but I enjoy it. I enjoy like every, depending on what you draw, depends how many dice you end up rolling and what you do. So I enjoy it a lot.
Okay, so
Yeah, I love taverns. The dice drafting, the deck building, the
Mhm.
upgrading of your player board, and all the little modules you can
Mhm.
add. Like, you just always feel like you're working on a little project. You got your deck to build, you got your desk to come.
That is true.
And then, man, yeah, I love that game so much.
It's really good.
Good one.
Well, since Chris keeps stealing choices, I'm going to give you a chance now before you can steal another one. Roberto, do you have
Oh
one
my
you can think of?
gosh.
Are there any more dice games?
That's it.
Go with dice adjacent. Actually, I just played, and I'm gonna say, because dice in this game is quite important, is Batoku, and that quickly turned into a phenomenal game for me, and I'm excited to I've played it a couple times, and I want to play even more. So every player gets 3 dice from 3, 2, 1, and they're locked. But what I really like about this game is a dice manipulation, because depending on the number of pips, and when you play it out into the forest, you get different or you get stronger actions. So you can do like a number 5 action or anything below that. And when you roll up a die, it actually spins down. So it goes from a main action, and when you roll it up over the river, that's when you can get into spirits and some other things, other actions you can do on your own player board to advance your progress and set collection and all that stuff. So I'm gonna have to go with Batoku, because it's been a while since I've been able to manipulate dice like that, of the 3 pips, 2 pips, because those are even off to the side. They're different little components with different numbers on them to add to your own personal reserve of dice that you end up accruing as you play the game.
Well, talking about a game where you manipulate the dice a little bit as you're getting them. Both me and Chris actually got the same game on our list, Role Player from Thunderworks Games. So depending on where you place it, of course, in your board, you do occasionally get to manipulate them, move them around. But to me, that's kind of the next step up from Sagrada. Sagrada.
Hey, who won that game against you? Just so we can bring it back up. I don't want to refer to any of the other games where I've lost, because there's plenty.
The time
on that one.
Oh, when I was teaching you and your boys, so I didn't really care.
No.
Oh.
Ouch.
Okay. Ow. Wow. Okay.
If you want to bring it up, we'll get technical. But yeah, so that it's a little bit more in depth in that. Yes, you're drafting the dice and then placing them, kind of creating that almost D&D like character, which for a lot of people who are into TTRPGs, like that's a lot of the fun, is just creating your characters. And so they've done a great job of theming that whole game around creating a character with all the dice you're drafting. So I've really enjoyed it. Chris, what do you like about Role Player?
I mean, for me, it's when we were playing with my boys, we were playing it, and it was just kind of that feeling. And Daniel still has the picture of his character that he created because he wants to go on an adventure with him. It just something like that. Like our kids got more excited about the idea of D&D and role playing, and that's kind of a cool experience. I think that's really neat. Learning how to basically do character creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, our next goal is to get into role player adventures, which I hear you can actually take the characters that you've created and bring them into the adventure for all these little stories. And so that's kind of like a next step that I'd love to do with them. I mean, we've
Mm-hmm.
already done a couple RPGs as a family, but it's neat to see that my son to this day still has that picture on his phone. Super excited and so proud of it.
Oh yeah, he intentionally had you send it to me so I could attempt to create an actual D&D character for him with that.
Aw.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's how he is, and we've had a blast. So getting into role player adventures is going to be the next thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what else is on your list?
So I have Dice Settlers from Board and Dice, and I really like how the dice don't have like numbers, or really they have different icons, and you need to recruit the right amount of dice so you can explore and resources and plan it out and try to get technologies that let you up your dice count so you can roll more, and you're still like exploring, and it's tiling, so it's like a whole bunch of different things. But I do like the mechanics of the dice having just all the different resources instead of just numbers. The faces are, what action you could take or what resources you can claim. Like there's pumpkin wood and like exploring and and all these other stuff. So it's one I enjoy quite a lot.
Nice. So I don't think I've tried that yet, so I think one of these game nights we'll get that to the table and you can teach me how to play that.
Good.
Last but not least from our guests, we have Ben. Did you think of a different one?
Oh, don't worry. I had a whole bunch written down. No, I thought about cheating a little bit and putting one of my favorite games on there, A Feast for Odin, just because it has a couple of dice in it. But that doesn't
does
really
not
technically
count.
works.
You're a liar.
Works.
Get out of here.
No, I'm going to say the first game, you talk about standing the test of time. The first game I ever played where you roll dice and you don't necessarily want to roll high or low. And that's from Stefan Feld, The Castles of Burgundy.
Yes.
That was the first time I saw dice used in a different way than like I'm trying to roll good and do something with them. It's I want to roll these numbers so I can get these tiles and for my board. And that was one of the first games we got, like that was like a midweight Euro. And it's still one of my favorite games. And we've had it almost 10 years now, right? And I'll play that game anytime. Like, so the fact that it kind of like introduced this idea to me of rolling dice in a different way, and that I still always want to play it. And even though it is, I don't have the newer one, which I didn't hear is necessarily nicer. It's one of those games that doesn't matter, right? I just kind of want to play and build my board and try to do better than I did last time and beat Emily, I hope, which I never do.
Yeah.
So the Castles of
great.
Burgundy is my choice.
Definitely a solid choice. Well, talking about kind of midweight Euro style games with dice, from my list, I have Rise to Nobility from Final Frontier Games. This is probably the first one that I played that actually had a dice as worker placement style gaming. But all the spots on the board, you could still go to no matter what you rolled. It just kind of determined how much you could do there. But there's a lot of resource management. And then the art, of course, is amazing in that game. I believe it's from the Miko, however you pronounce it. But to me, like, that's a full table hog. It has a lot of boards, extra cards, but the way it uses the dice, and like if someone's rolling a lot of high numbers, they're placing less workers because you actually have a limit for the total number you can, like pips you can place. So it's a great balancing act in that it doesn't allow one person to run away with a lot of great rolls necessarily. So I've really enjoyed that. We'll jump to Chelsea this time.
Okay. So my next one is Noctiluca by Seaman Games. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. And it's really pretty. You are like diving and collecting the dice to fill your jar because they glow at night. The Noctiluca glow at night, and it's like little shapes. I don't even know what they are, but they're shapes. And then you put your pawn, and then you can go whatever direction, straight line, and you say a number from 1 to 6, and then you collect the dice to fill your jars that give you points at the end of the game. And it also has a solo mode, which I've actually played, and I don't normally play a solo mode at all. I get bored by myself. So, but it's very quick, and I think it's super pretty, and it's one that you can play after work and, busy day. You don't have to, brain power to play a heavier game.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
Chris, you have a game that it's pretty easy to learn and play that doesn't take a lot of brain power.
Yeah, that's well. Now I'm going to challenge that a little bit because Match 5 from Synapsis Games does have a little bit of brain power in the fact that you're having to somehow connect two different dice. So you're rolling all these dice, and you're basically looking at them, and you're saying, okay, what matches this and this? What kind of would be cold and outside? And you kind of have to think about it, and you're trying to, of course, get some matches and everything, because it's called Match 5. But yeah, so you're really testing your wits about you, and that's kind of what it is. It's nothing crazy. It's just a fun little party game, and it's one that I think we've enjoyed doing on a live stream. I think a couple times. So Match 5, highly recommended, especially for families. It gets your brain to burn a little bit. So yeah.
Nice. Well, we've been through all the guests, but of course the rest of us have one more each. So do any of our guests want to name one more of their favorites?
Let's name all of ours before Roberto.
Yeah.
Especially, I know Ben, you said you had
That is a good
multiple,
one.
or anyone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say Strike as a joke, but I love playing
No,
Strike is great. That's on my
great.
list.
Are you
I
kidding
love
me?
Strike.
Yeah, I love Strike.
Strike is great. Yeah.
Oh, what else was on my list? Everything else on my list, everybody said. I think I had Dice
Dice
Throne. Emily said The Magnificent. Somebody said Taverns. Arcadia Quest. Seasons with the card play, but the
Yeah,
dice
I love
drafting.
Seasons.
That's not one I pull out that often, but I always have fun with that one.
Mhm.
That's all I got.
The other one, the other one that popped up on my list was Roll for the Galaxy.
Mm.
So this is kind of
Oh,
the
yeah.
dice,
Man,
the
yeah.
dice version of Race for the Galaxy, and I've always just kind of described it. They're very similar. I've described it as Race is the better game, Roll is more fun.
Okay.
And I
don't think
have
I've played either to compare them. So.
here we have Rolling Realms right behind me. Super
True.
excellent roll and write there. It's just such a tight roll and write by Stonemaier Games. I'm surprised no one said Yahtzee. How come we can't talk about
We said Dice Forge, the Dice Throne.
yeah,
It's
that's
basically
true.
the same thing.
Dice Throne is
I
yeah.
assumed rolling rights were off the table. Otherwise, that would be we would open a whole new can of worms there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, opening a can of worms and kind of dealing with issues. The last game on my list is Dead of Winter, a Crossroads game from Flat Hat Game. We actually just got to play it last night. We don't get it off the table or off the shelf very often and to the table. But I did get to teach Chelsea and the rest of the game group. And you're rolling the dice based on how many survivors you're controlling. And then, of course, anytime you're moving, you're having to roll for exposure. So you never quite know when the zombies are going to get you. But it's so well balanced in that it's not like you're constantly dying from the bites. It is a little bit of that pressure luck. Hey, do I want to move so we can chance finding these items? But you do run that risk. So I really enjoyed playing last night, of course. And when I do get it to the table, I enjoyed that. Where dice are a key element of it, but they don't change the game so much that you can't enjoy it if you have bad luck. Chris, you were making faces a while ago at something, so I'm just gonna let you talk about your last game.
Okay, so we talked about Yahtzee. I mean, Yahtzee is great, but it's led to a lot of other games coming out. Of course, you know, you've got King of Tokyo, you've got Dice Throne, but one that I specifically picked out because it's one of my favorite co-ops to do with the family. And we have the Boardvengers here. I thought, well, why not have Thanos Rising from the op? It is one of those games where you are working against the brothers and sisters, or the daughters and sons of Thanos, as we like to call it. I think they're known as the Black Order. I forget off the top of my head. You've got Ebony Maw, you've got Call Obsidian, you've got Proxima Midnight, and I'm forgetting
Corvus
one.
Glaive.
Yes, Corvus Glade. Corvus Glade, the boyfriend to Proxima Midnight in the comics and stuff like that, and also in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Great game. So yeah, so you're actually going up against them. You're going up against the Outriders. You're taking on different characters. You're recruiting heroes throughout the game. The roll of your dice is so crucial to recruiting and dealing damage. And of course, the first thing you have to do before you even start recruiting these characters is you have to roll the Thanos die. And the Thanos die will decide what position Thanos is in, who he's going to be dealing damage to, and then what Infinity Stone he is closer to getting. And as soon as he starts getting Infinity Stones, it ramps up the difficulty of the game. You have to, of course, defeat 7 villains to win. For like the easier mode. If you want to go harder, of course, you go for more. But Thanos wins if he gets all the Infinity Stones, or if he defeats one player's whole team roster, or if he actually, Great Scott Malarkey, if he and his minions defeat 10 heroes. So it can get pretty hairy, but a lot of fun. And if you want to ramp up the difficulty, throw in extra villains in there that you have to defeat, and that will definitely make for a brutal and fun night. We've played that in some of our live streams, and it was one of the first games that got me back into the hobby after I had gotten into Carcassonne, Pandemic, and Werewolf and stuff like that, and of course Catan. But yeah, that is my final choice, Thanos Rising from the Alp.
Nice. And Chelsea, you have one more. I know we kind of joked a while ago that roll and writes were off the table, but I think your last one might actually be a roll and write.
A little bit of it's St. Malo. It's from 2012.
Oh,
so
it doesn't count rolling right.
Well, it's like Yahtzee. It's more like Yahtzee because you can re-roll stuff. So you can re-roll up to 3 times, and the dice have different icons. And there's even a pirate one that if you get that one, you can't re-roll it. You make little checks, and then they have levels. So you have to match the level of your soldiers. And if they go over, you lose points, and you get to place like churches and businesses or walls to defend yourself. So it's a little bit more like Yahtzee, I would say. You just get to draw things down. But it's one of my favorite games. We tried it before, and then this summer we were on vacation, and we actually went to St. Malo and played it there cool. And enjoyed it. So it has a special spot in my heart.
Yeah, that's fun. Cool.
So when things have a special spot in our heart, special memories, we allow them back onto the table, even when we joke that they weren't allowed.
It's Yahtzee. It's Yahtzee with a roll and write. It's okay.
Exactly.
Just teasing.
In a way, all games are okay because we all enjoy different things. But that was our top 5 of dice-based games, and of course, at least one each from our special guests. Chris, do we have any closing remarks for today?
One of my favorite things that we've been able to do is just be able to build up together as community. And I am beyond appreciative of these people in this group, the Boardvengers, for being on here tonight. They truly do encourage community as well. If you have not been following any of them, please go check them out. It's boardvengers.com. However, I'm going to go to each one of them to plug their own specific channels so that way you can go check them out. We, of course, will be having notes in the descriptions later where you can click on their links, or you can go to their websites. And, also these people mainly do this stuff for fun, but, there's ways of supporting them. So support them, whether it be a subscription or listening to it on podcasts and downloading it. It means a lot. And then when you see them at a convention, say hi. Don't be afraid. We love playing games. Invite us to play a game. And I promise you, it's very rare that somebody will say no unless we're walking to the bathroom. So, so let's start off once again with Nelson, and then we'll go on to Ben and M, and last Roberto.
Yeah. So again, just thank you for having us on. This was a ton of fun. It's just laughs all around. So yes, you can find me on Instagram at Fantasy and Some Flights, or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's a lot of places that this podcast is at. It's Fantasy and Some Flights. And yeah, so yeah, like Chris was saying, reach out. And if you see me at a convention, let's play a game.
Heck yeah.
You want to go? I'm not doing all the names of this. I'm not doing it. This is when I just look to Ben because he's the one who's like, blah, 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 and just chit-chats it up. So
just make it up. It's all fake. If you want to check us out, look for Date Night Dice on Instagram, or look up the podcast Date Night Dice. Much like Nelson said, podcast RSS feeds get pushed everywhere. So anywhere you look for podcasts, you can find the Date Night Dice podcast. If you want to watch us live on YouTube, we also upload our video versions of our podcast to our YouTube. We also stream our D-list movie reviews, and we play Gloomhaven Digital a lot on Twitch and YouTube. So we go live to both places if you want to check us out there. Anything else, Em?
If you want to check out Date Night Boxes, we're Date Night Dice on Etsy.com. So you can check us out there.
Date Night Dice everywhere.
Yeah.
It's easy.
And I'm Roberto. Sheer boredom pretty much everywhere. Sheer like cutting hair like a scissors, and then boredom like board game. Horrible for SEO. So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube as Sheer Boredom Table Talk. I do reviews, interviews, and all sorts of board game fun stuff.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate you all being on here tonight. It's just always a joy, especially when we do get to interact. And sadly, we don't get to do it enough, but I'm very thankful that we were able to. Folks, we are going to go ahead. We're going to wrap up here, and I'm going to just say thank you for listening. I'm Chris.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Justin, and thank you for listening to the Meeples of Joy podcast.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
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 What are you doing? You're using the wrong shaker. Oh, hey, Gary. Yeah. No. Shelly took the shaker with her when she left. So I've got my thermos. I'm just kind of using that, and maybe if somebody got the alcohol order right next time. What did you say? Nothing. Yeah, I've got those drinks. I got that martini right here for table 62. Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get some. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks. Luckily, you don't have to be a bartender to enjoy games like On the Rocks, Kingswood, and Kohaku, all from 25th Century Games. Highly recommend it. Link down below. Oh, and don't forget that 80 rolls of silverware before the end of your shift.
Hey, thanks for watching our video.
If you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit that little like, subscribe, the little bell thingamabobber, you know the thing, and watch some of our videos. Maybe one that's maybe up here, or maybe down there, or over there, or down there. I don't know where they are, but thank you all. Remember, when we can gather at the table, we can do the same for a good cause. Bye.
Bye.